Sowing seeds of success. Planting season approaches. Ahead on Grow, a look at why you might want to plant soybeans sooner than usual. Plus, Hastings feels the effects of decades of fertilizer use, but modern farmers are also part of the solution. And we talk taxes. Will we see relief on the farm? We'll hear from State Senator Kurt Friesen. Get ready to grow. Farmers hit the field. Planting season is here, and that's our top story.
Corn still is king to a lot of people.
Corn is king, but soybeans could take the crown.
It's estimated to be up in Nebraska this year.
The USDA expects a 10% rise in soybean acres in Nebraska. That's where many growers expect their best chance to make some money. And that likely means beans planted in fields where beans were harvested last fall, which can increase weed and disease pressure.
The research shows that it's not as big of a yield penalty as what some may think.
Extension educator Jenny Reese says farmers may want to rethink their planting strategy and get beans in the ground sooner than they're used to. The data shows planting soybeans in late April brings the best yields.
Maybe split up planting some corn and some soybeans early. Maybe even consider having someone else plant the soybeans while you're planting the corn.
Research finds farmers could save $10 an acre with no yield loss by lowering soybean seed rates to $120,000 per acre. There can be benefits to planting early, and weather is starting to feel more seasonable.
It is gorgeous out here, and it's nice to be out in this kind of weather planting.
But Reese says another cold spell could be trouble, so growers need to keep an eye on soil temps. And as the planters start rolling, her goal is to equip farmers with the best information for a successful year.
What are research-proven ways that we can either reduce input costs or increase yields and hopefully strengthen the ag economy?
The Nebraska State Patrol urges safety during planting season. Troopers say implements may drive on the shoulder and should have warning triangles and use flashing lights. The United Soybean Board recommends bringing older equipment up to date to meet standards, and if you're doing pre-planting work, don't skip the warnings on the labels for various products. One suggestion, snap photos of the label with your phone so you can review them. And just because you serviced a machine last fall doesn't mean it'll be in perfect condition. Make sure every piece of equipment is ready. Still waiting, though, for temps to warm up a little bit before many start to plant. The latest USDA crop progress report shows field work has been limited to spring tillage and fertilizer application. Topsoil moisture supplies rate mostly adequate. Subsoil, by and large, also looking good. Winter wheat rates 40% fair, 40% good, and just 7% excellent. The USDA reports calving progress is about 75% complete, about the same as last year and ahead of average, and death loss for cattle and calves average to lower than average. Certainly it takes a little faith to plant a seed in the ground and get a crop in the fall. And on this Easter Sunday, we reflect on that. That's the subject of our poll question. We asked, are you a regular church attender? And the overwhelming majority of the responses say yes, you are in church on a regular basis. Similar percentage of folks say no, they are not regular attenders or attend on Christmas, Easter, and major holidays. A major meat packer has been put on notice. Back in January, JBS Swift was shut down temporarily. Cattle haulers were backed up waiting to unload in Grand Island. A quarterly government report shows the plant has been put on notice for what the USDA calls an egregious violation. Inspectors saw 6 head of cattle loose, 4 unconscious. Employees unsuccessfully tried to knock 2 others. The plant had previously been warned about animal handling last October. The USDA letter says JBS has adequately addressed concerns and will be monitored to ensure livestock are properly handled. And when it comes to livestock production, raising cattle under roof is something some are considering. Nearly 300 folks attended a symposium put on by AFAN, learning about new cow-calf technology. Cow-calf confinement is a concept of some interest. Participants learned about calving under roof and heard from speakers discussing the considerations like design, financing, feeding, and veterinary care. With decreasing availability of pasture in eastern Nebraska, it could be a way to expand cow herds. The event sponsored by AFAN, the Alliance for the Future of Agriculture in Nebraska. And that leads to this week's poll question. If your family is involved in day-to-day crop production, what best describes your relationship to livestock? Maybe you also raise livestock or used to raise livestock. You've considered adding livestock or have no livestock interest. Log into Twitter to cast your votes. Irrigation helps ensure a consistent crop here in Nebraska, but how much water do crops need? Thanks to an ongoing study, researchers have a good idea how much water corn, soybeans, and alfalfa use. The Central Platte NRD has been funding university research for a decade and renewed the study for another 3 years. The benefit for the NRD is getting solid data to use when setting rules.
For our groundwater management plan, it's based on reducing the number of irrigated acres if groundwater levels do decline to a certain point. And so as we reduce those number of acres, we want to reduce them based on the types of crop and the water being used on those crops.
7 sites are equipped with sophisticated equipment. They've begun studying water use of grapes used for wine and hope to study potatoes and seed corn next. The city of Hastings investing big bucks to keep the city's water clean. It follows work farmers have started to be mindful of nitrates.
We're hopeful we can say, yeah, there's a way you can do it.
Under pressure, Hastings takes action to protect the city's water.
Basically trying to take lemons and make lemonade.
The problem started on the farm from fertilizer practices generations ago.
We still have to deal with a lot of legacy issues. Anybody who grew up helping their parents in the 70s like myself, yeah, more was better, and that's just the way we did things, and now we deal with excess nitrates that are coming into the city systems.
The plan is to catch that water, remove the nitrates, and inject the clean water back into the aquifer. Water from these ponds will then be pumped out and put to good use.
So we'll take those nitrates and put it back on the farm ground, and then they can use that up in the farm production in there.
And the farmers recently touring the project are also part of the solution.
So it's not only just doing a better job of applying the fertilizer, doing that, but also making sure that you're not forcing it off your root zone and having better water conservation practices. So the increase in use of center pivots and sub-irrigation, all of those things are certainly helping.
And what farmers have learned could be a lesson for folks in town.
We need to do that with our grass. We need to be looking at grasses that require less water.
They call it the Aquifer Storage and Restoration Project. The price tag on this phase, $12 million. The total project expected to cost $46 million, but it could have been much more.
I'm pretty happy with what I see going on. Anything we can do to not have to go to full water treatment, I think long term will be great for the community.
Nebraska farmers are invited to weigh in on the next Farm Bill. Congressman Adrian Smith has a couple of Farm Bill listening sessions planned. The first is Monday, April 17th in Scottsbluff at 1:30 Mountain Time, and then Thursday, April 20th in Aurora at 1:30. Those Farm Bill listening sessions are open to the public. The Aurora session will be held at the Bramer Community Center. A pair of egg teachers from neighboring school districts have been named FFA Advisors of the Year. Jesse Bauer from Sutton Public Schools and Amy Tomlinson from Sandy Creek were honored at the Nebraska FFA convention last week. They each received $1,000 for their FFA chapters. Students say Jesse Bauer engages students with hands-on projects and experiments, while students say Amy Tomlinson pushes students to excel and takes time to sit down with each kid and talk about their goals. They were honored by Nebraska Farm Bureau Federation. And what do Brooklyn hipsters have in common with kids from rural Nebraska? FFA jackets are a trend in both settings. As you've seen many times here on Grow, the National FFA organization has a focus that's much more than future farmers. Egg education has reached an all-time high in Nebraska. Now, 17 magazine reports your old FFA jacket is officially trendy. A number of students and FFA alumni have taken to social media to express disappointment that a jacket they take pride in is now seen as a hot fashion accessory. Governor Pete Ricketts saddles up for Rodeo Week. In honor of the University of Nebraska Rodeo held this weekend, earlier in the week, the governor joined members of the UNL Rodeo Association on horseback. He proclaimed Rodeo Week in Nebraska and rode down a street south of the state capitol with the rodeo team. He said it's not every day you see a governor on horseback, which is probably true, as he read a proclamation highlighting the role of agriculture in Nebraska and rodeo's roots on the ranch.